All right. For those who are tuning in, and for those who have watched it before, this is the second video in our series. The last time we talked about purpose. If you have not checked that out, go to my LinkedIn, you'll find it there. I will post that link under this video as well. So excited to be here with Awesome Kelly. I actually call her Awesome Kelly. That's how she's saved that. Literally, that's what her name is on my phone. We're really excited to talk about passion today. And I'll actually start this off with a quick story, and then Kelly can jump in after that. Are you good with that, Kelly?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Did you want to share something before I jump in?
No, if you guys are watching this live, let us know. Say hi, tell us where you're tuning in from. Type a 1 if you're watching it live. If it's a replay, if you catch the replay, write 2. We just want to be able to have conversation with you, community. So, and we hope you can find a nugget or a takeaway from today's live experience.
For sure. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Kelly. So I want to share a little bit about passion, because this has been, for me, I would say, at least a 15-year journey to get to a point where I can say, okay, how I'm living in my life is based on my passion. What matters to me, what matters to my heart, what matters to my soul. And what I'll share with you is just a few years ago, I remember I used to take the subway down in Toronto region, take the subway down to downtown from uptown region. In Toronto, if you are from Toronto, it's around North York. And every time I remember, I used to go to this shop and I would get the unhealthiest thing possible. It was like a Jamaican patty. I would grab that. It was really good. So I don't know of any other place that had it that good. It was really good. And I would take that. And I remember as soon as I would walk down the stairs, I would get these series of thoughts. Be like, what the hell are you doing with your life? You're disconnected from your family, from your religion, from your path. There's like a series of thoughts. And I didn't have social media at that time. I didn't have a smartphone, so I didn't know how to distract myself either. I did have those flip phones, and I used to, I think, carry a MP3 player. I would have some things on that just to distract myself, but it would be really hard. I would get a series of thoughts, and then the feeling was complete disconnection from my life. Afraid, I don't know what I'm doing, and then go straight to work. And right after that, go straight to the bar. That was my life pretty much. Yeah. And it wasn't, and to the outside, it looks like, oh, I was having a lot of fun. I was meeting people, I was connecting with people. And even I had convinced myself that I was doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. But the reality was that I was running away from my life. I was in pain. I felt completely disconnected from everything. I didn't know how to connect with my family. I didn't know how to connect with my passion, with my purpose in life. And I didn't know where to find answers, to be honest. And a few years later, something happened, which I can share about that later. But just abusing my own body, getting addicted to alcohol, drugs, and so many things, and got to a stopping point for me where I had to take a backseat. Basically, my own system forced me to do that. And that pushed me to kind of realize, okay, whatever I'm doing is not working. Mm-hmm. And the pain of that pushed me towards more curiosity. And the curiosity came in, okay, well, I don't know what's going on. What do I care about? Well, the most important thing I cared about is I really wanted to learn. I really wanted to understand why nothing was working for me, at least from my perception. Mm-hmm. And that led me on a path of self-discovery where it got me to think about, okay, how do other people think about this? How have human beings been thinking about this for generations, in our history? How do we make sense of this from a psychological standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint? And just, I went into that rabbit hole and I figured out a lot of things. It actually raised more questions than it answered the questions. But what I discovered on that path was that I actually had a deep interest in learning more than anything else, more specifically learning about my own nature, learning about who I was deep down. And that became a really important interest for me. And there are other interests I have, but there's nothing that I'm interested in more than trying to understand who I am in my core. And everything I do is around that awareness. So the business that I have, the kind of life that I've created, the adventures that I've created, the consistent learning and growth that I've created in my life, everything revolves around who am I at my core. It sounds odd and maybe it sounds weird to some people around that, but that pumps me up more than anything else when I find any kind of insight around that, whether those are through my experiences or those are through me just learning from books, or those are through interactions like this, or those are through me going on stage and talking to people, or through retreats, any kind of interaction with people or my own experience. That pumps me up more than anything else. And that drives a lot of my purpose as well. Because nobody has to give me money. Nobody has to give me anything for me to do that, because I will do that regardless. It's a bonus for me to have a business surrounded by that. It's a bonus for me to have so many amazing people surrounded around that theme. It's a bonus for me to get all the other things that I get based on that experience. So the reason why I share this is that passion for me drives everything else. And it's sustainable, and I can override pretty much anything for that. I can override days when I'm incredibly tired, days when there are challenges at home in my life, when I'm dealing with sickness, when I'm dealing with all sorts of challenges that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. That passion really drives me to keep moving forward. Not because I'm pushing myself or hustling, but that just pulls me. And that also connects with my bigger purpose of supporting people to become aware of who they are. Because what ended up happening with me is that as I started to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, that, oh, we're more than just a collection of thoughts and impulses and beliefs that we're given, then I'm like, holy shoot, what would other people get out of it if they get an inkling of it? And that pumps me up to a whole other level, because I want to spread that in my community and in the world with the people around me. So that's what passion to me means, is that to me feels connected to my heart, my soul, who I am at my core. Nobody needs to tell me that for me to move towards that. And I want you to think about it. What is that for you? Have you discovered that? And maybe that's not a one-time thing. Maybe it's allowing yourself to go towards that. What would that mean? And it doesn't have to be the thing that I'm saying. It could be anything on your path. And I'll kind of pass it on to Kelly and get her thoughts on this.
That was good. First of all, thank you. Just want to acknowledge you for being totally transparent, because I feel like, I'll just speak on both of our halves. If you start following along on the story now, you miss how it came to fruition, how the passion was unfolded, how your purpose came to. So a lot of times I think that we don't share enough about the struggle, so it's like, that's real, but in that you were refined and found the passion. So, and your purpose. I love that. To me, when we're jamming out on this topic, I like to give a very basic, tangible example that someone could wrap their head around, because my personal opinion is you're going to find what you're looking for. So if you decide, hey, I want to start to figure out what my purpose is, what's my why, what's my bigger why, but you're not open to receive, or you haven't done any work to surrender your own way, I think it's kind of hard to see. They're like, we have these red light dashboard GPS, like, boop, 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 boop. But if your eyes aren't open to receive, you can't find it. So the example I want to share, if you're watching or tuning in, is it would be similar to going to a restaurant and thinking, I'm not hungry. Say it's an Italian restaurant and you're not a fan of Italian. I'm not hungry. There's nothing going to be here for me. I don't like anything on the menu. You're going to have a very hard and unlikely time finding food you're going to enjoy. So I think that's the same mentality you can step into. You have to curate space to lean in and discover and be open to things that you may not have thought of, so it can come to fruition almost. Because even like me full-time pivoting to mindset like 3 or 4 years ago, it wasn't exactly on my radar, and it didn't happen in the way I thought it was going to happen. And if I wouldn't have gone through an experience previous to that, where it was full surrender, my blueprint was different than the blueprint I had laid out. So by surrendering, I was able to receive and be open to opportunities that are actually way bigger than I could have ever thought about on my own, but it started with a little seed. It started with a thought. It started with me curating time and space to hear. And like what you said, for me, I went on a big journey of unbecoming, like through what the world and society and how we grow up and the environment. Like for me, it wasn't even originally until later in life, actually, to be completely transparent, till 39, 2018, it was like, boom, you go to school, you go to college. I went to school to be in education. I was a teacher. And then boom, it wasn't until this other situation was brought upon us that I even thought outside the box. So I feel like you have to give yourself the space to dream and feel and receive and think about what you already enjoy doing. And I do think there's a place for hobbies. And then I think there's a place for your purpose and your passion. And you don't have to monetize all your hobbies. That is something that I think that's good to think about, because some people are like, oh, this is my purpose, and how can I monetize it? Not every purpose is monetized.
I love that. And I love that you gave a tangible example around the restaurant. Is that, I mean, I'm just picturing myself going into an Italian restaurant. If I have some conceptions about Italian food, I'll be like, oh, I don't like their pasta. I don't like this. I don't like that. And I haven't actually looked at the menu. And this Italian restaurant might be a little bit differently. Maybe they're offering a few things I haven't even looked at. But I'm not looking at the menu. I'm like, well, no, I'll eat somewhere else because this is not for me. And I haven't even looked at the menu. So that's not being open to exploring what is important to you. And the beginning part of it, even if you're, because a lot of people might think, well, no, the time to explore and do these things is when you're younger. But you might be in your 30s, 40s, and Kelly's sharing, like she was 39. And when I started kind of thinking through this stuff, I was in my late 20s and early 30s. But even this is a journey. It's like a path that you're on. I've never said, oh, I'm completely clear about my purpose. I know exactly what because I'm growing and evolving on this path. So wherever you are in your life, the time to explore never stops, because you might have as Kelly was talking about, your blueprint might have shifted. The things that felt aligned with you just a few months ago might not be the case right now. The person, and there's actually a big challenge in relationships as well, not to sidetrack this a lot. A lot of people, when they're in intimate relationships, they go through this period where they're both growing, but they don't know that they're growing. So each of them have a picture of the other person from the past, and they're looking at them from that lens, and they keep running into challenges, and they don't realize that they are not taking into account what's actually happening, because there's not enough time spent together. There's not enough connection points. There's not enough presence. Life is too busy. And that same thing happens with us. We don't realize that we're evolving as we're going through life. We don't check in. And like Kelly said, we don't give ourselves enough space to discover who we are right now. Where is our growth? And this is why stepping away from your life becomes really important. And that could mean just take 30 minutes a day. And we talked about that last time. Go away for the weekend. Spend some time alone. Get out of your environment. Go for a vacation if you can. Whatever it takes. Don't go to get inebriated. Go to just give yourself some space.
Band-aid on what you're feeling, where you're drinking it, shopping it, smoking it. Don't Band-aid it. Feel it. Feel it. We have to say,
feel it. But one of my, like, I don't know where I heard this goes, like the person who can spend time alone is probably one of the most powerful person there is, because it's actually difficult to spend time alone with your own thoughts and emotions, right?
That's why most people don't. It's scary. I always like to say, slow down to speed up. But if you're a high achiever, if you're a performer, if you're go, 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 the thought of slowing down is like torture, because then most of us, I'm not going to lump anybody, but I'll just speak into myself. Because I was chasing money the first time around we built our companies. So I never stopped to think. It was on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. There's no room to feel, heal, and deal, because you're not even giving yourself a chance to slow down, because it's too scary, because then all the stuff boils and bubbles up to the top. So it's a form of self-sabotage. And in a way, it's a form of self-sabotage by not allowing yourself to slow down and feel.
Yeah. And maybe the question we can get you to think about is that, are there any areas in your life where you're distracting yourself? And distraction might come up and show up in the form of you're constantly going on TikTok and social media, or you're drinking a lot every day and you're saying, oh, that's just thing I do casually, but it's 6, 7 times a day, a week. Or you're just always around people and you don't give yourself enough space. You're always trying to fulfill other people's expectations, or you're going for shopping constantly. Whatever form that distraction takes, it's a signal from your own life saying that, hey, you're running away from something, and giving yourself the space to feel that, while that might be difficult, and going through the thoughts, that will help you see what's happening. And if you feel like you are not able to do that, reach out to us. Reach out to us to help you kind of work through that, whether it's Kelly or I. But that becomes the process of becoming free and open, because nobody is free if they're a prisoner in their own mind. Most people are, unfortunately.
Boom. I always say your ego is not your amigo. And you just like, yeah, that's like a beautiful statement to what you just
I love
said.
that. Your ego is not your amigo.
I just did a class on that. Your ego is not your amigo. But it's like, to segue in, like once you cultivate, I think step one is slowing down. I usually say short term, you're sitting in your shit short term.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to feel, heal, and deal. So I think another thing is, it feels scary because as young people, I don't think that we were taught necessarily how to process emotions and how to feel. Most of us, it's like, dry it up, quit crying, let's go, pull it together. So I think it's scary because some people maybe don't slow down because they don't have the right tools to know how to process what they're feeling. So it just feels too much. So it feels safer to keep going. So that's why tools are super important, because you have to know, once the awareness is created and these things come up, what do you do with it? Yeah. And that's where you have to, so step one is cultivating the awareness, and step two is the discovery phase. And then what do you do with it? And when you discover your passion, is it going to be something just for you? And that's okay too. Or is it going to be part of your business or part of your plan that you're cultivating and you are going to monetize? And that's another level, because I've had several passions in my life that at one point in time, I thought, like at one point in time, I was fitness and mindset. But then I discovered I don't want to monetize the fitness. That doesn't excite me. It's my own personal passion. But the mindset, like you, I could wake up, I could eat, breathe, sleep. I'm going to nerd out. It's my Super Bowl and I'm going to study the brain all day long. So that's the difference. That's how I knew that this one piece was just for me and this other piece was for the world and the community, because it's so in me, I can't stop it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And that's what I was referring to, is that there are things that you're gonna put it in a different category as you move through them. So there was a time where I was like, I wanted to just interact with people one-on-one a lot. And my practice, most of what I did was one-on-one coaching. I wasn't too much in social media or anything like that. It was mostly in the back end. I did that for like 3-4 years, but there was a point something shifted. I still do that, but that became less, and I'm more out in the world now. I'm more out speaking on stage. I'm more out doing these kind of trainings. I'm more out doing master classes. I'm more out engaging with a bigger crowd. And that's sort of my evolution and working through that. And part of it is also, like Kelly said, you don't need to monetize everything. But what we're trying to communicate here is that you can potentially, especially in the world that we live in right now, you can monetize a lot of things if you wanted to. Like, there are no shortage of, there's so many creative ways you can turn the thing that you love into something that you would consistently do, and it's a part of your day-to-day life. You would do it anyway. And the bonus is that you get to connect with people and serve other people in the process, just like what we're doing here. That's a possibility that you can go towards. And also really thinking about, I want to kind of, because a lot of time, and some of you might be listening, or if you're listening to this and you're in a place in your life where like, I have all this stuff going on in my life that I'm busy with. I feel okay about it and I'm making progress. I feel like I'm creating success, but I don't feel connected to it. What the hell do I do there? Well, first of all, and many of us will be in that space. First of all, step back, like Kelly saying, give yourself some space and become aware of like what matters to you. Sit in the pain of that, and then the next step might be is to do like, well, what would you ideally want to create? And this is where your vision comes in, because your vision might have changed. What you want to create might have changed, but you haven't explored it. If you don't know how to explore that, you can reach out to me or Kelly. We can help you through that. And we've actually created stuff in the background for you to do that. But unless you explore that, you don't know how to get out of where you are. And maybe you don't want to get out of where you are. Maybe you want to connect to it in a different way. You don't know any of that until you explore that process. But what we're encouraging here is for you to explore what else is inside of you. Is there more that you want to do? Is there a different thing that you want to do? Is there something else that connects with your heart that you've kind of shoved to the side and hoping that someday it will come up? Actually, let me share just one thing so I had a client, I worked with him for a few months. It was really cool. Like, this guy is an entertainer. Like, no, like, he will make you laugh. He's a comedian as well. And the first session I got with him, like, he was sharing a lot of things he was doing. He was in real estate, he was doing investing and everything. And I'm like, that is not what he cares about. Like, he does that stuff for money. I'm like, tell me more. And I was just literally, I spent about 90 minutes just listening to him. I'm like, what do you care about? What brings passion into your life? What brings joy? What brings connection? What gets you up every day? And he started sharing little moments, but it's like, what I love about it is just being in front of people, making them laugh and entertaining them. I'm like, how much are you doing? He said, well, like, I'm kind of doing that with my podcast with real estate. I'm like, what would you ideally want to do? It's like, well, I want to be an influencer. I want to be in front of people. I want to entertain them and I want to educate them with this stuff. And as soon as he starts talking about it, there's a different side of him shows up. I'm like, so let me ask you this. So what's the plan? Because what I'm hearing is that you're building this business, that business. When do you feel like you're doing that matters to you? He's like, well, I'm kind of doing it on the side. I'm like, do you want to do that at some level, at a bigger level? Do you want to do that more full-time? Do you want to do that? He's like, yeah, I would love, every time I would say it, like, I would love that. I'm like, so when are you doing that? What's your plan? When I build all these businesses in about 10 years, I'm going to do that. And I just looked at him, I'm like, you're not going to do that. Like, can you tell me, was there a time you thought about this 10 years ago? It's like, yeah, I've been thinking about this since I was 6 years old.
Oh my
So
God.
every 10 years, you tell yourself that you're going to do this 10 years later. Do you think that's going to happen? He's like, no. It's like, I need to do this now. And actually, that's what got him to start the coaching process with me, because he knew that he was afraid and he was putting it off.
Yeah. I love that. So leap and the net will appear. Sometimes, and I feel like the gentleman you're even just speaking into, when you do activate and live through your passions, your other businesses are going to connect themselves by default, because it comes down to your energy and your frequency and your vibration. And Faisal, you even I watched your energy shift. You just got all hyped and you were feeling
Because I love that so much.
Right? Yeah. So it's like, that's what happens, is like, if you focus on your passion. I stopped chasing money in 2018 when I had my rock bottom moment, since we talked about rock bottom moments. And now I chase feelings and emotions, and money, my financial success, is a byproduct of leaning into my passion. Because, like, I talk about this all the time, but even like me becoming the team mom for my son's football team, it lit me up in such a different way that it activated something else in me. And guess what? My business benefits. So it's like, you following your passion is like following the leprechaun at the end of the rainbow. There's like, your pot of gold is there. It's like activated, it's ready, it's blessings, it's abundance. And when I say abundance, I'm speaking beyond wealth. I'm talking about inner and outer wealth. I'm talking about feeling abundant in your relationships, abundant in your partnerships, and with your client experiences, and the day-to-day, like waking up and living and not waiting, like living and not waiting to die, almost, is what it makes me think of when we ignite our passion within us. Like, you are going all out every day, and it hits different. It hits different when you're following your passion.
Yeah, it really does. And like, bringing it back to day-to-day life. I mean, I used to think about this a lot. I still do. And I used to think about, okay, how long do I spend at work? And so some of you might be thinking, well, I want to get off work and I want to create a business where I don't have to be there. That's a great idea. But let's say you have all the time in the world. What are you doing with that time? Okay, well, I want to travel the world. Like, let's say you travel for a whole year, maybe 2 years. What are you going to do after that? People don't realize there are a lot of hours in the day. I actually walked a client through this because he had this idea. He's like, I'm going to retire. And 5 years after I do my real estate investing path, Then I got him to walk through his life and like walk me through your ideal world, your vision of like what you're creating. He's like, okay, so I'm gonna wake up at this time, have my morning routine, I'm gonna engage with my family, and I'm gonna work for like 2 hours. That's all I want to work. And by the time he explained all that, we got to about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, what are you doing after that? He had no idea, and he started getting anxious about it. I'm like, so what are you gonna do? He's like, I think I want to keep working. We both laughed because he's like he completely changed his model. He still obviously has created a system where he doesn't have to work, but he actually likes working. He likes
Right.
working. He loves interacting with people. The reason why I'm bringing this up is that there are a lot of hours in a day. And we understand this as human beings. As soon as you lose a sense of purpose in what you're doing, actually think about people who retire. Like we have this idea in the Western world of retiring. Just track what happens to, especially men, what happens to their health and well-being after they retire when they lose a sense of purpose. Majority of them, their health goes down.
Yeah.
And the reason why I said men is because a lot of their purpose is associated with work and career and everything. Women at least have the other side of it, the children and everything. They are focused on that plus that side. So it hits men much harder a lot of times. But when you look at that, you realize that, oh, what the hell does retirement mean? And I want to kind of take it back one more step is like when you actually look at human beings, how like I grew up in communities. When you look at the role of elders in communities, they never retired naturally for human beings. They actually stepped into one of the most important roles. So what the teachers in the community, the wise people in the community, that people went for guidance, that children went for guidance. So many other people, they became the people who set guidelines and rules for based on their wisdom.
Yeah.
But we've kind of left that off as we went towards the nuclear family model, but we don't realize that that's just something we have experimented with and it doesn't work very well, to be honest. So then coming back to your day-to-day life, so if your idea is to let me retire when I'm 40 or 30 or whatever, and I'll do whatever I want, you will be shocked as to how much time there is and you won't know what to do. And plus, if your idea is that, oh, I'm just going to do this thing every day for the next 10 years that I hate because I'm going to make money, think about that time that you're spending, about 8, 10, 12 hours you're spending at work. What does that do to your mind, to your well-being when you're kind of grinding through the day and you hate it, and you don't want to be there, but you're doing it for the sake of that 10-year payoff? What does that do to you when you go back to your family, when you go back to your weekend? And it's no surprise that when people go back to the weekend, what do they want to do? They want to drink and hide. They don't want to connect. They don't know how to be present with their family because they don't like their life. They've just spent 5 days doing something they hate, so they just want the space to run away.
Gosh, I'm just reaffirming to myself, like listening to you to you talk. I'm just reaffirming, gosh, I'm so glad that I'm figuring out my passion. Because it sounds miserable when you put it in that context. When you put it that way, it sounds miserable.
It is like we don't like, and this is one of the things I've learned with most people. One of the things that I do in my the first call I have, I want people to feel their pain, because most of us run away from our pain. We don't feel it. We know that it's there, but it's a concept. But once you come down to it, it's like, shit, what am I doing in my day-to-day life? And just looking at yourself in the mirror, is this what matters to me? Is this what I want to do? And if you can say that, I think it was Steve Jobs, like you need to be able to look at yourself in the mirror, something like that, and ask yourself, is this what matters to me?
Yeah, I have an awesome visualization I take people through. It's actually like it's a visualization, but it shows you you're going to the left or to the right, and then if you stay on this current trajectory, it takes you 12 months and then 5 years and then 10 years, and it forces you, same thing, to feel the pain of not change. And then it takes you back up to the fork, and then I'm talking and you're like, okay, good news is it's 2023, you're not there. And we take them down the other road to feel if they would leverage and lean into exactly what we're talking about, some of their passions, and make the changes and make the shifts. And then I want them to feel that difference in their body as well, because I think this conversation, to be pretty transparent, a lot of people might even just skim right past it because it doesn't even seem tangible. It doesn't even seem like a step or a reach that they could take. And that's why I think a lot of times we just get so comfortable in the expectations and the day to day that we normalize what that feels like, that we forget what it feels like to feel good. And that's why it's powerful to what you just said, feel the pain, or like I just do it. I do the same thing in a different way, but allow them to feel it, because sometimes you have to feel it to know that it can feel different. But it has to be almost like, I think that's where support comes in. Sometimes it's hard to recognize, like you can't solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. So it's hard to see what you need to see when you're in it, you know?
Yeah, and that was a huge realization for me as I went on this journey. Like it's been 15 years or so. It took me a while to kind of look into these things and try to formulate
Yeah,
and make sense of it. A lot of times I would get stuck, and
yeah,
similar to it, I didn't know how to process my emotions. So I would emotionally get stuck, but I would try to solve it with concepts, and it wouldn't work because my brain was stuck in a different place. And,
yeah.
and I didn't know how to move through that, and it was like back and forth until fortunately I had some mentors, and slowly as I went towards mentorship and coaching, I realized that within 6 months, as I got focused in that there, within 6 months, I made just as much of a progress as I did in the past 15 years. That was a huge, like, that's why coaching was huge for me.
Yeah, it collapses time and walls. I always jokingly say, my mistakes are your mastery. Like I've done so many mistakes. So come on, let's discover this. Let's uncover it. Save yourself time, save yourself money, save yourself the headache. Let's go. You know what I mean?
And when you and I love that because and when you get to a certain age, like I'm gonna be 40 this year, so and I might have gotten that date wrong, but plus or minus 39, 41, but somewhere there. That's another. I don't have a birth certificate, so
Oh, okay.
so what I want, it kind of that completely went off. That's another story I'll share another time.
Yeah.
Got myself stuck there.
What do you think, like to close this up, my personal opinion is it has to come from, you have to release the shoulds or you're going to shoulda yourself to death. And you have to get into the must and commit. Just like you can't go to the gym. I couldn't go to the gym and expect a six pack in a week, probably even 6 months. So like we can't expect to like have this aha moment, like we know our passion and boom, we're doing it. But it's with sets and reps. And it's like taking the consistent action, take 10 minutes a day, do shadow work, walk yourself through some journaling prompts, ask one of us what questions we could send you to pull up so you can begin to have the awareness to take the actions. And then hopefully you have a friend, a partner, a coach, or a mentor who can help activate and be your backbone as you're going through the discovery process and the unbecoming. Because I think it's messy. It gets a little messy at times too.
Yeah, and the process is not, it's not supposed to be an easy process. Like there's the
Right.
statement thing, the quote that goes like, we never said that it was going to be easy. It will just help you. It's the process, the journey is not an easy journey. It's a journey to grow. And growth is not always easy. And we know this physically when we're working out. That's not an easy process, but is it worth it? And what we're trying to get you to think about is, how can you get started, and is it worth it, and do you have the tools and the guidance as you move forward? And so the starting point might be is to really take even 10-15 minutes, step back from your life, from the busyness day to day, and take some time to journal or think about or visualize it. Like look at your life, like take a survey of your life. That's the first thing a scientist would do. If a scientist were to go into a new space, first thing they would do is not try to change things. They would take a survey of the whole land and see what's available and what's there. So be a scientist in your life, and then become a philosopher. The next step is really ask yourself, well, does this matter to me? Am I basing my life based on some random arbitrary expectations, or does it really matter to me? Does it matter to my soul, to my heart? And if the answer is yes, great. How can I go more towards that? If the answer is no, then, well, what do I really want? If I
Yeah.
don't want that, what do I really? And that's where your vision comes in. That's where what you need to create and work on that slowly. And this is an ongoing process. This will help you figure out what your passion is, what matters to you, and how can you use that to connect more with your purpose, as we shared last time. And that's a simple process you can follow. And along the way, as you get stuck, reach out to us, because you will get stuck at some points. It's not an easy process. We got stuck. The reason we know this, and we work with people day in, day out, we get stuck. That's not a negative thing. That's just human.
Yeah.
And we can help you out with some questions, with some tools, with some training that will help you move forward.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to give them, like, Tony Robbins always does the rocking chair test, and I do a similar version of that. But if you are going to journal, you're pulling out your paper, go ahead and take yourself to a 90-year-old version of you. See yourself sitting on the porch. Let's create the atmosphere, this beautiful setting out front, and then think about it. And plus, it's going to give you a pure appreciation for your body and how it moves now, regardless of anything else that comes through. But think about, like, what are, if you're 90 now and you're looking back, what are the regrets? What are the things that you remembered? What do you wish you would have followed or done or spoke up and said? Like, take those things and use that as a launch pad to self-discovery of your next step, or things that you want to start committing to doing differently, so you don't get on the rocking chair at 90 and look back and have the regrets. You have an option to draw a line in the sand right here in this moment and commit to activating and finding your passion. And when you do that, it's going to change the whole trajectory of your life. Whether you monetize it or not, the people in your life benefit, because it's a ripple effect, and you become this beacon of light for others to find hope in. So it's like, it's a bigger picture, my personal opinion, is to the world collective healing by you activating that in you, because activated people activate others. So if you care about the bigger picture, find your passion, because the people that you're going to inspire along the way is going to be like, this is where I'll start geeking out and get nerding out, is because it's like the ripple effect. You have no idea, by you activating your passion, how many other people you're going to inspire and activate along the way. And then that's when life gets good. Like, that's when it's like juicy.
Yeah. And actually, that reminded me, by the way, when I was thinking about the rocking chair, I wasn't at 90. I'm on top of a mountain. I'm camping and I'm just doing this. Yes, I live the life that mattered to me.
At 90, I'm still on the dance floor. I'm dancing and having fun, because my whole philosophy is having fun.
Right. And so what is that picture for you? Because it tells you a lot about what you wanna create. I really love that. So actually, before this morning, we'll end this. I'll just share a couple of things. I met a group of 6 coaches that we have as part of our organization, where we're delivering coaching to this other organization, and we were just sharing about what's exciting about this project and everything. You could see in every one of their eyes, they're actually not really, like, financial abundance is part of it, but what they're seeking is that growth. And they're like, their eyes light up when they think about working with each other to improve, master the process, and working with each other to serve others and move this project forward that will have a bigger ripple effect in the world. And that connects back to what Kelly said, is that this stuff has a ripple effect in your life, with your family, with your community. It doesn't just stay with you, because when you shift, then everybody else around you shift. I love what you said. When you activate, everybody else around you activate. It doesn't just stay with you. And that's very powerful, because a lot of us want to make a difference in other people's life. We try to do that with our advice. We try to do that with what we want to tell them. A bigger way to do that is to role model the way. And this is an opportunity for you to do that. So we'll leave it at that, and just make sure you like and share this video, and share your thoughts about what were some of your insights, what popped up for you, what was the 90-year-old picture of your life on the rocking chair, on the dance floor, or on the top of the mountain, wherever you see yourself to be. And
we're gonna dance, rock, and climb a mountain.
Yeah, those are not the only options, but those are the options that came up. And here, and let us know what was the insight, and what are you committing to do? What is your commitment moving forward? Is that oh, you're going to take half an hour in the morning and kind of reflect back on this, or today you're going to do that, journal about it, or visualize it? What are you going to do about this? And consistently share that insight with us, so we can help you move forward in there. And also, our next session is going to be on legacy. We talked about passion, we talked about purpose. What is the legacy that you're leaving behind? And it connects to both of these topics. And let us know how you look at your legacy. How do you want to look at your legacy? What do you want to leave behind, because you are gonna leave? That's not an if, that's a when question. So what are you leaving behind in terms of your values, in terms of things you're leaving behind, in terms of the principles that you're leaving behind, in terms of the people that you're leaving behind? What are you leaving
Yeah. That's good. I love it. This has been so fun. Yeah, come back, join us, same time, same place, next Tuesday, 1 o'clock. We're going to finish up on legacy, and we're going to give you guys an exciting opportunity to receive more and activate some of this. So hopefully if this is stirring something in you, and if you feel like a little burn, if you start to feel that little light beginning to brighten, then stay tuned, and we'll make sure we have some ways that you guys can activate your passion and purpose on your own, or with us as well, whichever feels better for you.
Awesome. Have an incredible day, and make sure you like and share this video. Bye.